Welcome to the world of science fiction, where each new adventure opens up endless horizons of imagination. Today, we will listen to a story called The Last Experiment. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss new stories. Enjoy the listening. The city stretched out below me, a sprawling labyrinth of concrete and steel, suffocated under the iron grip of the regime. Propaganda banners flapped in the harsh wind, each proclaiming loyalty and strength. Skyscrapers loomed ominously, casting long shadows over the streets. Surveillance drones buzzed overhead, their cold, mechanical eyes scanning the populace. No one was free from their gaze. Inside the Genesis Institute, the world felt even colder. The building was a fortress, a labyrinth of high-security measures and sterile, high-tech hallways. Scientists in crisp, white lab coats moved briskly, their faces a mask of clinical detachment as they conducted their experiments. I was their prize subject. I had lived all of my 20 years within these walls. Every day I faced a battery of physical and mental tests, pushing my body and mind to their limits. My blue eyes, often remarked upon by the scientists, saw everything, but they never saw freedom. My athletic build, a testament to the rigorous training I endured, moved with precision as I completed each task effortlessly. Yet, despite my abilities, a void gnawed at me, an emptiness born of isolation and longing. After a particularly grueling session, I found myself staring at the digital screen mounted on the wall of my cell. Images of the outside world flickered across the display. Lush forests, bustling cities, vast oceans. Places I had never experienced, worlds I could only dream of. A deep-seated loneliness welled up inside me, a yearning for something beyond these sterile walls. It was during one of my training sessions that my reality began to fracture. As I sprinted through the obstacle course, a sudden flash of green filled my vision. For a split second, I was no longer in the cold, metallic training room but in a lush forest. Trees towered above me, their leaves rustling in a gentle breeze. The scent of pine filled my nostrils. Then, as quickly as it came, the vision vanished, leaving me breathless and shaken. I dismissed it as a hallucination, a trick of the mind. But the visions continued. During a routine checkup, I overheard Dr. Maven speaking with his colleagues. They spoke in hushed tones, but I caught enough to understand their meaning. Dr. Maven, a stern man with a sharp intellect and a colder demeanor, referred to me as the key to the regime's future dominance. My ability to access alternate realities was not a hallucination. It was my purpose. Intrigued and disturbed, I began experimenting with my abilities in secret. The visions grew more vivid, more frequent. I saw alternate versions of myself living different lives, free, happy, unburdened by the constraints of the lab. These glimpses of other realities gnawed at my mind, causing me to question everything I knew. What was my reality? What was my purpose? It was during one of these explorations that I encountered Eli. He was a rogue scientist in his early 30s. His compassion and resourcefulness a stark contrast to the cold detachment of the others. Eli had been secretly working against the Genesis Institute, and he saw in me the potential to change everything. He explained the catastrophic event the regime was planning, an event that would cement their power forever. My abilities, he said, were crucial to stopping it. Eli became my confidant, my mentor. He taught me how to control and expand my powers, how to navigate the treacherous landscape of alternate realities. Our connection deepened as we spent more time together, his determination fueling my own resolve. Together, we began planning my escape. We communicated through hidden messages and brief encounters, meticulously planning every detail. The day of the escape arrived, fraught with tension. As I made my way through the labyrinthine halls, my heart pounded in my chest. The security forces were relentless, their eyes everywhere. Just as I was about to be caught, Lara appeared. Lara was another experiment, one who had failed to meet the Institute's standards. She had become a guide within the lab, her resilience and empathy a beacon of hope. She had seen countless experiments like me fail, but she believed in my potential. With her help, I evaded capture and made my way to the rendezvous point with Eli. The plan was in motion, but the threat was far from over. Dr. Maven discovered my disappearance quickly, his rage palpable. He deployed every resource at his disposal to hunt me down. The chase was on, and the stakes had never been higher. In the dead of night, with the sounds of pursuit echoing through the corridors, we finally reached the exit. The world outside was a stark contrast to the cold, sterile lab, a world of freedom and uncertainty. As I stepped into the night air, the weight of my decision settled on my shoulders. This was only the beginning of a journey fraught with danger and discovery. With Eli and Lara by my side, I was ready to face whatever came next. For the first time in my life, I felt a glimmer of hope. The regime's grip on my life was loosening, and the path to freedom lay ahead. My journey had just begun, and with it the awakening of my true potential. We had been running for days, the cold bite of the night air slicing through the thin layers of our clothes. The ruins of the old city loomed ahead, a crumbling testament to a world long gone. Aileen, Eli, and Lara trudged through the debris, their breath visible in the frigid air. The resistance was somewhere in these ruins, a hidden base offering refuge and hope if we could find it. Eli, ever the resourceful guide, led us through a maze of narrow alleys and collapsed buildings. "Stay close," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "They'll be watching for us." After what felt like an eternity, we reached a heavily fortified door, almost invisible among the rubble. Eli knocked in a pattern that seemed random to me, but the door creaked open almost immediately. A burly man with a scarred face peered out, his eyes narrowing as he scrutinized us. "We're here to see Mara," Eli said, his tone firm but respectful. The man hesitated before stepping aside to let us in. The interior was a stark contrast to the devastation outside. Dim lights cast long shadows, revealing a bustling hub of activity. People moved with purpose, each engaged in some vital task. We were led to a spacious room where Mara, the leader of the resistance, awaited us. She was a tall woman with an air of authority, her presence commanding respect. Her eyes, sharp and calculating, assessed us with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. "Eli," she greeted him with a nod, "who are your companions?" "This is Aileen," Eli introduced me, "and this is Lara. We need your help." Mara's gaze fixed on me, and I could feel the weight of her scrutiny. "Why should we trust you?" she asked bluntly. "You could be spies for the Genesis Institute." To prove my loyalty, I stepped forward and took a deep breath. Summoning my abilities, I showed them a vision of an alternate reality where the resistance had both succeeded and failed. Gasps echoed around the room as they watched the shifting images. "I can help," I said, my voice steady despite the nerves coursing through me. "I want to fight with you." Mara studied me for a long moment before nodding. "Very well. We'll see what you're capable of." The following weeks were grueling. I trained intensively, guided by Eli's patient instruction. We practiced navigating and altering different timelines, honing my ability to predict and influence events. Each session left me exhausted, the burden of responsibility growing heavier with every vision. Eli and I spent countless hours together, our bond deepening as we worked side by side. He was my anchor, his unwavering support helping me push through the pain and doubt. Lara, too, became a steadfast friend, sharing her own experiences and offering emotional support. She helped me understand the broader implications of our fight, the countless lives hanging in the balance. One evening, After a particularly intense training session, Eli and I sat on the rooftop of our hideout overlooking the ruins. "You're doing great, Aileen," he said, his voice soft but sincere. "I don't know if I can handle it," I admitted, the weight of my abilities pressing down on me. "What if I fail?" "You won't," Eli assured me, his hand resting on my shoulder. "We're in this together. You don't have to carry the burden alone." Dr. Maven's relentless pursuit forced the resistance to go on the offensive. We launched daring missions to sabotage the Genesis Institute's operations, infiltrating research facilities, gathering intelligence, freeing imprisoned experiments. It was dangerous work, but necessary. We couldn't let the regime's plans come to fruition. I used my powers to predict and alter outcomes, guiding the resistance to key victories. Each success boosted our morale, but it also drew the regime's attention. Dr. Maven deployed advanced technologies and enhanced operatives to capture me, his determination as unyielding as ever. During one mission, we infiltrated a heavily guarded facility. My visions guided us through the labyrinth of corridors, avoiding detection and disabling security systems. We freed several experiments, their gratitude mingled with fear and confusion. As we made our escape, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of an impending threat closing in. The critical mission came at a high cost. We were deep inside another Genesis Institute facility when Dr. Maven himself confronted us. His cold smile sent a chill down my spine. "Aileen," he said smoothly, "you've been quite the thorn in our side." Before I could react, he revealed that he had been manipulating my visions all along, using advanced technology to guide my actions. "You're still useful to us," he said, his tone mocking. "Return to the lab willingly, or watch your friends and the resistance be destroyed." The revelation hit me like a physical blow. Betrayal and hopelessness swirled inside me. Everything I had done, every choice I had made, had been under his control. I retreated inward, questioning everything. Eli and Laura tried to comfort me, but the weight of the choice was overwhelming. Back at the hideout, I isolated myself, lost in a storm of doubt and despair. How could I trust my own abilities, knowing they had been manipulated? How could I fight when the enemy seemed to hold all the cards? Eli found me on the rooftop one night, his presence a silent comfort. "Aileen," he said softly, "we need you. We believe in you." I looked at him, my eyes filled with uncertainty. "I don't know if I can do this," I whispered. "You can," Eli insisted. "You're stronger than you think. We're in this together, remember?" His words kindled a small flame of determination within me. The fight was far from over, and I couldn't give up now. With Eli and Laura by my side, I would find a way to turn the tide. Dr. Maven's manipulation had shaken me, but it hadn't broken me. The journey was far from over, and I was ready to face whatever came next. Determined to end Dr. Maven's reign of terror, I knew I had to push myself further than ever before. I couldn't let his manipulation define me or dictate my actions. With Laura and Eli's unwavering support, I dove into the heart of alternate realities, seeking the strength and answers needed to defeat him. Eli had set up a makeshift command center in our hideout. Maps, data streams, and scribbled notes covered the walls. Laura stood by, her presence a steady anchor. "Are you ready, Aileen?" Eli asked, his eyes filled with concern. I nodded, determination hardening my resolve. "I am. This ends now." Channeling my powers, I felt the familiar pull of alternate realities. Colors and shapes blurred as I navigated through countless possibilities. Each shift strained my mind and body, but I pushed on, fueled by the desire to stop Dr. Maven. The lines between realities blurred, each one a chaotic mix of possibilities and outcomes. We found Dr. Maven in a high-security facility, surrounded by his operatives. As we infiltrated, the air crackled with tension. I focused on disrupting their plans, shifting events to our favor. Lara and Eli fought beside me, their movements precise and coordinated. The clash of weapons and the shouts of combatants filled the air. Dr. Maven appeared, his cold smile a stark contrast to the chaos around him. "Aileen," he called out, his voice cutting through the noise. "You've come far, but this is where it ends." "No," I replied, my voice steady despite the strain. "This is where you fall." The battle raged across multiple realities. Each shift brought new challenges, new dangers. I felt my strength waning, the constant strain taking its toll. But I couldn't stop. Not now. Dr. Maven's operatives were relentless, but so were we. Eli and Lara fought with a fierce determination, their trust in me unwavering. With each reality I shifted, I gained more control, more clarity. I saw the patterns, the threads that connected each possibility. In a final, desperate move, I trapped Dr. Maven in a loop of alternate realities. His smug confidence faltered as he realized what was happening. "No, this isn't possible," he screamed, his voice echoing through the shifting landscapes. "It is," I replied, my voice filled with a quiet strength. "And it's over." With Dr. Maven neutralized, the chaos began to subside. The operatives fell back, their will shattered. Exhausted and weakened, I returned to my reality, collapsing into Eli's arms. Lara stood by, her eyes shining with relief and pride. Back at the hideout, the resistance celebrated our victory. Cheers and laughter filled the air, a stark contrast to the somber atmosphere we had grown accustomed to. But I knew the struggle was far from over. Dr. Maven's influence was vast, and there were still many battles ahead. Eli and Lara stood by my side as I addressed the resistance. "We've won a great victory today, but our fight is not over. We must continue to stand together, to protect each other and build a future free from tyranny." The resistance members nodded, their faces filled with resolve. Together, we began to rebuild, drawing on the strength of our shared victory. I used my remaining strength to share my knowledge and abilities, creating a network of allies across different realities. Each connection strengthened our resolve, our ability to stand against future threats. Eli and I spent long hours working side by side, our bond stronger than ever. Lara provided invaluable support, her resilience and wisdom guiding us through the challenges ahead. We were no longer just surviving. We were building something new, something better. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, the world began to change. The regime's grip loosened, their influence waning. The seeds of resistance and hope took root, growing stronger with each passing day. I chose to remain with the resistance, dedicating myself to rebuilding the world and protecting it from the remnants of the regime. My journey had transformed me from a controlled experiment into a leader, a symbol of hope for those who had lost so much. In the final scene, I stood on a hill overlooking a liberated city. The sun rose, casting a golden glow over the buildings and streets. My mind touched countless realities, each one filled with the promise of a brighter future. Eli joined me, his presence a comforting reminder of all we had achieved. "We did it," he said softly, his voice filled with awe. "We did," I replied, a sense of peace settling over me. For the first time in my life, I felt truly alive, ready to face whatever came next. As the sun continued to rise, I embraced the dawn of a new era, filled with possibilities and the promise of a brighter future. The fight for freedom would be long and arduous, but with Eli and Lara by my side, I knew we could face any challenge. Together, we would build a world where hope and freedom flourished, a world worth fighting for.